These moments of fan service have gotten completely out of hand. I can't count the amount of times I've just been watching the show and the dialogue is flowing, building the plot, and then bam, butt cheeks. Or when a fight scene is so intense that you can't keep your eyes off the screen, and then we get another reason not to. The excessive fan service in anime has not been talked about enough, and the only shows that seem to be getting any backlash are fan forced, because they know their audience and what they want. But the reality is, a lot of shows have been guilty of slipping in a scene or two that might go undetected. Like this Dragon Ball scene. There was no reason a martial arts show would need this, but they still went at it anyway. And I think I finally figured out why fan service has been so prevalent, and it's the exact same reason why Love Island is so popular. Everyone is an extreme gooner at heart. No, but seriously, it is unfortunately something that most people in any space love to see. But then you have to draw the line somewhere, right? Well, people have been trying to bring light to Dandadan and the fact that these scenes are strange due to the age of the protagonist. They have even gone as far as dropping the show despite liking the story simply because it was wrong to watch. And although there is some truth to that statement, you have to hold other shows to the same standard as well. Because although Dandadan definitely blurred the lines in terms of age appropriate, our favorite shows were no better at hiding it. It was just a different time, so everyone who watched these already thought they were weird. I mean, you see the memes all the time about watching anime by yourself, and then when someone walks in, it always has been this way. But because it has become more mainstream, the more casual viewers are going to think it's extremely weird, mostly because it's cartoons. Am I defending it? Absolutely not. But the double standard is something I wanted to bring light to. So to fully understand why fan service has gotten out of hand, I'm gonna have to pull from shows with the most unnecessary uses of it. But I won't use examples from shows that were built on that foundation, like Prison School or High School DxD. However, a perfect example is Food Wars. If you watch this show, then you know they have been consistent with the stripping and weird flashes all 5 seasons. But this does not help the fact that this show, it's about cooking. Like, don't get me wrong, I've had food so good where I feel like I'm floating and it transcends anything I've ever had. But to have my clothes burst off because of the taste is just nuts. This is what gave watching anime a bad rep a decade ago, because I was expecting intense and complicated discussions about the culinary arts like most sports anime do, but it was just soft. Nevertheless, I still enjoyed the show, and weirdly enough, it got me into cooking. So there's that. But the show was at least consistent from day one, so there can't be too much complaining if they set the standard from the jump. But on the contrary, there are some shows where the fan service is just plain disgusting, like Mushoku Tensei. Normally, isekai anime is a fantasy that most people would want to escape to and live out the lives they never had, while most people also don't get isekai as a baby with full consciousness. So of course this makes for an interesting plot, not the typical reincarnate we see, and the world building has huge potential. But this guy is the bottom of the barrel shut-in who should not be allowed around other children. And that's where Mushoku Tensei completely loses me. It's not that the story or world building isn't good, it's that the main character's perversion is written off as comedy or character growth, when in reality, it makes it impossible to root for him. And what makes it worse is how normalized it becomes. The audience just gets desensitized to it. People defend it by saying he grows out of it, but why was it there to begin with? And this isn't just a Mushoku Tensei problem. Anime has struggled to separate nuanced storytelling from cheap shock value moments that pander to the lowest common denominator. And here's the complicated part. Sometimes these stories are genuinely great. Like Jobless Reincarnate has some of the best world building we've seen in isekai in years. And that's the frustrating part about fan service. It's not always black and white. Are we supposed to throw away a great narrative because these uncomfortable moments? But it's like, can you still enjoy a show while criticizing the parts that are objectively wrong? And this is the balance anime fans have been trying to figure out for decades. Loving something, but calling out what's broken inside of it. Because we know 100% they don't need fan service to be great. Look at shows like Attack on Titan or Mob Psycho. Not a bit of fan service, even with the biggest platforms to do it. Just great stories without any bait to get reactions. Now, although the creators of the show can be the root cause of fan service, there are also fans who create it for themselves. Take Jujutsu Kaisen for instance. There was this one scene where Nanami was super serious and the animators really detailed his character design, and it was supposed to be another classic rage moment, but the internet lost its mind. The edits started rolling in and the comment sections were outrageous for a fictitious character. So while anime gets a bad rep for creator added fan service, sometimes the fans themselves will create it even when it's not there. I mean, it's human nature to find something attractive or cool and then blow it up way out of proportion. Nanami wasn't written as fan service. He's a stressed out salaryman who clocks in, does his job, and then clocks out. But somehow, the fandom decided he was the next anime heartthrob. And that's where this conversation gets more complicated. Because even when creators don't idolize a character, the fandom will do it for them. This isn't just a JJK thing. It happens across almost every popular anime. Characters who were never meant to be idolized suddenly have thousands of fan edits, fan art made about them. And sometimes, they're literal kids. It's one thing when adults thirst over adults, like Gojo or Nobara or even Levi, but it's another thing when fandoms hyper idolize characters who are clearly written as minors. And yeah, people will argue, oh, but it's just fiction or they're animated characters. When a majority of the fan conversation stop being about the story and start being about shipping the cast, it gets weird. Because guess what? The studios see this stuff. They see what trends on social media, they see which scenes get the most edits, most fan art, the most engagement, and then they start leaning into it. And suddenly, a character that was written to be complex or relatable gets extra camera angles or weirdly detailed animation just to feed that hype. It becomes a cycle where fandom influences the creators, and the creators give the fandom exactly what they want, even if it waters down the story. Like, why are we seeing Bakugo X Deku fan art? Or why is Maki consistently getting angles of her rear? It all adds to why fan service has gotten completely out of hand. But if you needed any more proof that this problem isn't going away anytime soon, just look at the new show Dandadan. This show dropped a brand new episode today, and it's the perfect example of how fan service can completely hijack a moment. We're watching this fight scene. It's fast, it's creative, the animation is crisp, and then suddenly the camera angle flips and you're no longer looking at the fight. The weird antics of every male character, including the aliens, are indescribably disturbing. And this is exactly what people were talking about when they said Dandadan felt wrong sometimes. It's not just the characters that are young, it's also the fan service interrupts the flow of what could have been or should have been a pivotal moment. You're pulled out of the story, reminded that this isn't just about the characters fighting aliens or ghosts. It's also about keeping the audience's eyes glued to the screen for all the wrong reasons. The episode didn't even need it. Dandadan already has incredible energy, funny characters, and a unique premise. And this is where I think a lot of people miss the point. Fan service isn't bad because it exists. It's bad because it's lazy. It's the easiest, cheapest way to get a reaction out of the audience when the story itself should have been enough. And when you mix that with the underage characters or the scenes that clearly weren't meant for that tone, it becomes uncomfortable, no matter how good the rest of the show is. So yeah, fan service has gotten out of hand. When it's distracting from emotional moments, when it's involving characters that are way too young, and when it's clearly just there to bait views. That's the problem. It cheapens the story, it breaks the immersion, and honestly, makes anime harder to recommend to people who aren't already fans. And being 100% real, not all fan service is bad. Sometimes it fits the tone of the show, or it's part of the joke. Like a character teasing someone or a lighthearted moment between two adults in a romance anime. That's fine. Shows like Prison School made it part of their entire identity. They owned it, and they built the world around it, and they didn't try to hide it behind any serious storytelling. The problem isn't fan service existing, it's when it's forced into shows that never needed it, when it's lazy, creepy, or when it targets characters that should have been left alone. Anime is good enough without it. So maybe the key takeaway isn't to cancel every show that has a questionable scene, and most importantly, support the anime that respects its audience enough to not rely on it, because fan service isn't what makes anime great. Or is it?